So I'm playing around with some stuff today. If I look like super bright, it's because I've got my little light box on my GoPro on, just because the lighting just really wasn't that great in here. And yes, I am filming with the GoPro, even though I have two different cameras on me. It's just because I'm so comfortable with it, and the last time I tried to film this video, I got a lot of this. Budget friendly, these are good. And so is Harbor Freight sells something that's equivalent to this. So I was very inspired to get this second tutorial advice video out, the second part of this series, I guess you would call it, just because I've had somebody actually commenting on one of the social media platforms about some links, some more information as to why I use a harness, or some more information on dry bags in general and some of the other gear that I carry besides having a camera backpack. Now, I, like most people, had started out with a camera bag or a camera backpack, thinking that, you know, that's more of the norm. That's my only option. And really, once I started going on more motorcycle trips and hikes and needing to have more alternatives, I learned that there is more ways than one to carry your camera and your camera gear. And I'm here to tell you all of those ways that I have found. Now, there's more ways that I may not have tried yet, and I'm willing to hear in the comments some more ways as to maybe how you have done it, or how you know somebody that has carried camera gear without a camera bag or backpack and what they use typically. I'm always here for suggestions. I always love suggestions. I love trying new things. But this is the stuff that I have learned within the last 6 years that I'm very comfortable with traveling and motorcycling, bicycling, backpacking, we haven't backpacked yet, but when we go backpacking, hiking, kayaking, boating, you name it, I've carried my camera with me on a lot of those different activities, and I have found that this gear has been the easiest to carry all that gear with me when we are doing those set activities. Now, I am not sponsored by any means by any of these brands. I would love maybe someday to be. I'm looking at you, Sea to Summit, and you'll know why. I will post a couple of links in the description of why I love Sea to Summit and some of my stories on Sea to Summit, but I'll kind of briefly tell you some of those stories as we go on. Now, I do want to start with the backpack portion of this because I carry my camera gear mainly in a backpack, and I also sometimes carry it in my duffel bag when we are traveling as well. I have different backpacks for different scenarios. One works better for going on a motorcycle trip than going on a hike. One works better on a short hike than a longer hike. I'm just a bag lady, okay? I just love backpacks, and I love having backpacks for different functions. And I've found that, I haven't really found the perfect backpack all the way around. Now, this video also will talk about how to carry a more compact crop censored mirrorless camera, as well as the full frame mirrorless cameras as well. I don't do DSLR anymore, but this is about the closest you'll get to a DSLR camera. I used to have a Nikon D5200. Wow, the battery thing has popped out on that. And that was a great starter camera, the Nikon D5200, but then I discovered this beautiful Sony a6000 and my heart fell for the mirrorless camera bodies. So I shoot mainly with the mirrorless cameras. And also, as a side note, I am not going to go over some of the GoPro stuff that I have and how I pack that. That will be in a later video, probably here in the next couple weeks, where I talk about how I pack everything for a trip. So without further ado, here are all my backpacks that I have been carrying and how I what they are and how big they are and what I use them for. So I'm going to try and keep this as steady as I can. So these are some of the options that I have used over the years with backpack-wise. I have recently carried some of my stuff in my Timberland duffel bag. Now, this is probably by far one of my favorites if I had to choose. This is my Valraven Konkin. This is the original Konkin. They sell them in different sizes. I found this one for $4. Yes, it's an original. Yes, I found it for $4. It was one of those once in a lifetime finds. I have done that so many times in the last few years. And I found this one, I want to say at least 2 years ago. It has been great. I can actually fit my giant lens in this. I can fit everything in this. It has been super with just traveling with. I don't hike with this. It's mainly just to keep everything in there when we are traveling, and something that can easily be stored in the car with everything else. Now, I have traveled and I have hiked with my Gregory pack. This is a Gregory Maven. I believe it's a 45 liter. Now this, if I can get a little further, this is a backpacking backpack. I actually bought it so we can start backpacking. We're going to try and do that here in Tennessee soon, hopefully this September. But back in June, last June, we went on a really big trip, and if you've caught some of the videos on that, totally, if you haven't, totally do so. I'll leave some links in the description below. But this is my Maven. This actually was nice because I brought a lot of camera gear with me when we went out there, because it's something we don't do. We don't go out west very often. So this was something that I could carry all of my lenses, all of my Polaroid, all of my GoPro footage, GoPro adapters and everything. Which this video is not going to talk about some of the GoPro stuff that I have and how I carry that as well. I'll do that in a different video. But this, my Maven, has been great. I have hiked with it. It has been fantastic. Now, this is a new one. This is Fox Tactical. This is a Fox Tactical bag. I love it because it's got all kinds of different compartments. It's got different, I have stuff in this so I would show you further, but I've been taking it back and forth with me a lot. We've been working on one of our projects, so I've been keeping clothes in here. But this has been, I actually hiked with this bag in the Smokies. It's a smaller bag. I really love the fact that it is nice. It's nice and light. It's got your hip belt right here, which is nice, and that's why I bought it, to have a hip belt. You also have little dongles on the straps to hang stuff, which is great. We also have a one of the satellite things where we can call for help if we ever need it. We hang that off of here, and I hang my Nalgene sometimes off of there, depending on how heavy that is. But this has been a great new addition to the backpacks, especially with hiking, and I've done a little bit of bicycling with this. Now, this I have flown with. This is my High Sierra backpack. This is a cheaper backpack. It was actually one of those backpacks that fit the free bag requirements when we went flying with it. So this has been to the Grand Canyon and Zion, if you can't tell by the patches that are on here. And I have actually hiked with this one before too. It sucks, but it got the job done. I hiked Angel's Landing with this backpack, and here in a little bit I will actually show you the lens that was in there. It's a very heavy lens, and I'm very proud of myself because I was able to hike with that, and it was phenomenal. So I'm actually missing one backpack that I couldn't find. It is my Ascend compactable backpack. It's one of those ones that has a pocket there. You can fold it into itself. We have motorcycled with it, and I have hiked with it before. It's been a nice little light backpack if you have something, if you can't pack a lot. I'll post a picture in this video just so you can see what it looks like. I have some pictures from Michigan that my best friend took, so I will give you an idea of what that looks like as well. Now that we got the backpack portion out of the way, we need to talk about some cushioning for that camera, because you don't want your camera jostling around in your backpack or your duffel or whatever you're taking with us. Now, I had tried a lot of different things, especially back in 2019. That was a big thing for me, carrying camera gear, because we had not only flown with all of our gear, but we also went on a motorcycle trip with that gear. So I had to make sure that I had something that was going to be built to where it will protect the camera as well. Now, I used a hard shell case. This is the Plano waterproof cases that you can find. I think I found this in like the fishing department at Cabela's. And all of my stuff that I'll talk about today, I will have links in the description below from some of the places that I have purchased them, or might be a great deal for you as well. I know that a lot of this stuff is actually very affordable, especially like the Plano cases and some of the Sea to Summit dry bags. I could go for more affordable. I've had a Pelican case. Pelican is very known for their waterproof cases as well. But I just wasn't, it was just too bulky for what I do. Now, when I had the Plano case with this little guy right here, it was very easy to pack, very accessible. I needed something that was super small, but also going to be durable for the camera. And this camera actually fits very well into here when it is broken down, and it doesn't jostle around. It's very waterproof. It was great for like putting in a saddlebag or just sticking it in the backpack as well. This is great also for when we've been hiking or boating, because then you also have that durability and being able to protect your camera as well. Now, speaking of protecting your camera, but you don't want to have the big bulky hard shell case, which, oh, this is the version for the full frame hard shell. As you can see, the big difference in sizes here. I haven't been able to take the time to get it ready for the kit lens for the full frame. But as you can see, some of these do come with some foam, and that is great as well, depending on what you do. There's also another one we've used, the hard shell cases, called an Apache case that Harbor Freight sells. It's a very cheap case, but it'll get the job done, we've learned. We've had one for the Nikon D5200, and we also had one for a Sony A5100. So we've had kind of the variance on that as well. Now, you may want to have that kind of cushion, but not want to carry a hard shell case. Now, this is the Matador camera base layer. This is the second edition. I can't find my first edition. I don't know why. The first edition was more of just a bag that you rolled up, and it had the dry bag in the bottom. This one has the dry bag built into it, which I really, really love. That was one thing that really sold me on getting the second edition, especially when I'm carrying this guy, and I don't want to get it wet. Now, this also sold me on it, is that you can tuck this in and make this bag smaller for all of your smaller lenses, and that also sold me on it for this. I use it mainly for this guy right here, my full frame camera, just because that's something that I'm usually shooting with mainly, and it's something that I really don't want to get wet either. Now, I will use this on the trail as well if it's very muggy out or it might rain. That way I have some sort of protection for this guy while it's sitting out on the harness. Now, speaking of harnesses, because we all have to talk about that. Now, I have used Peak Design straps. I still own them. I still have a wrist strap. For when we do go boating, it's easy to be accessible to everything, and I can take it off really quick. Now, when I'm on hikes, I've done weddings with this, I've done portrait photography with these, I've done wildlife photography. This is actually the main reason I bought these, was the wildlife photography reason. It's actually a binoculars harness, and it was back, I don't know, it was a couple years ago, and it was when we were going to the biggest birding week in North America, and we were talking to the American Birding Association representative, and they happened to have the binoculars harnesses, and I said something about, you know, I have a really heavy camera, I have a full frame camera that I use, and a very heavy lens, and I need something that's not going to hurt me while I'm out in the field, because I found I was carrying the whole thing, because when I put the weight on the strap of the next strap, it was really hurting me and really digging into me, and I go out for long mile hikes, so I need something that's going to be more comfortable. Plus, it was sometimes a little bit of a burden when you have the neck strap slinged around you, you're trying to get it, the backpack's in the way. So this has been like the ultimate lifesaver. It's only 15 bucks. It's a Cabela's one, and I have my Birding Association one somewhere. But it's got this elasticity. I also talked about it in my last video, which I'll have a link in the description below of the last video. But the elasticity really sold me on this, especially letting that weight bounce with you. Now, you gotta watch if you're starting to get into the walking groove. The camera will bounce pretty hard. But these have been my go-to. I can access my camera easily when I have my backpack on, or just access my camera easily in general. It has been the greatest thing I have been able to buy. I actually just bought a double sling for the wedding I'll be shooting this weekend, so that I'm excited to actually use this. I love the slings, I love the harnesses, so I'm very excited for that as well. Harnesses have just been the big thing. I haven't used my camera strap in years. I still have the dongles for the Peak Design straps just because like I said, I use the wrist strap still of the Peak Design, but I don't use camera straps really. And it's funny because I've gotten so many comments on these, but there have been one of the best pieces of equipment, and one of the things I don't leave the house with is this binoculars harness. And it hooks just like a regular camera strap onto your camera. There's no frills or, you know, extra things that you need. It works really well. Now, let's say that you are wanting to just carry, you know, your camera and some sort of like softbox or some sort of soft case, but it's not waterproof. Now, I have that instance with this big guy, my giant telephoto lens, and I had to find a way to waterproof this because we were going on the motorcycles, and sometimes the saddlebags kind of leak, and that's something to worry about. So is this the old one? Yes. This was my solution. The Sea to Summit dry bag. Now this is the 8 liter, and this is the one I have owned for 8 years. I've owned this bad boy from the get-go, since I've been doing interchangeable lenses. And I don't know if you can see that, but you can see some of the patch, some of the frills. I'm finally getting ready to retire it. I bought a new one, and I bought this new one like a couple years ago, but it's been so hard for me to retire this one. I actually bought this, it was the end of 2015 for my Florida trip in 2016. And this was the best thing I could have bought, and I had no idea that it was at the time until I ended up going to 10,000 Islands. I was with a boyfriend at the time, ex-boyfriend now, obviously. We had taken recreational kayaks with us, and they were not built for the open bay, open sea concept that 10,000 Islands was. But he would not listen to me. And I grew up in the camping canoe capital of Ohio. I know what water that you're not supposed to be on with them kayaks. He wouldn't listen to me. He was one of those people that would argue until he got his way. long story short, we ended up going out there. It was kind of smooth going out there, but when we were coming back, we hadn't even left the island very far, and he had tipped his kayak. He was not an experienced kayaker. I don't recommend doing it with those kayaks. If you're going to do something like 10,000 Islands, definitely get a sea kayak or rent a sea kayak of some sort, or just go with like a motorboat. I don't know if you guys can do that or not. But anyway, he tipped the kayak, and some very important things were on that kayak. Our phones and the camera, my camera. And I was so devastated, but the way these roll up is they collect air and they can make this big bubble, and it actually floated. And that actually saved our butts, because I was able to call the ranger and get somebody out there to come rescue us that day. So I will forever swear by Sea to Summit dry bags just because of that day, but then I've used them at different outdoor jobs that I've worked at. I've worked at campgrounds, teaching kayaking. I've worked at camps where we had kids come in from different schools where I taught canoeing. I have, I've taken it with me on hikes with kids when I've taught at the camps and the schools. I took it with me on different hiking trips. It went with us on our flying trip. It went with us on our motorcycle trip. And I have one that's specifically, this 4-liter is actually the one that I specifically use for the giant lens. So I did buy one for that, but I swear by the Sea to Summit dry bags after that whole fiasco, and it's always saved my butt, and I've loved these. Like I said, there's a patch on this one just because it's been loved for the last 8 years. I mean, it's been everywhere with me on every single trip that we have been on since I've bought this. So I always highly recommend some sort of dry bag. Like I said, I haven't gone anywhere past Sea to Summit. We have bought some of the Walmart dry bags. They're a little bulky, but they can get the job done. I wouldn't necessarily go super cheap on something like this, just for the fact that sometimes your camera is more expensive than the dry bag, and it's harder to replace the camera than a dry bag. So I would definitely, these are like 13 bucks, I think is the most I've spent on Sea to Summit dry bag. I mean, they're not that expensive in my opinion. They might be to you, but like I said, there's different alternatives out there, but this is like my go-to. And I don't just stuff this in here. I will stuff like my low pro cases. Now this is where I keep my lenses typically, as you probably have seen if you watch my first video. I carry more of like my pancake lens or my kit lenses and something like this. I would carry the Nifty 50. I don't like the Nifty 50. That is for a later date, on a video for a later date. I just haven't cared for it. But this is typically, I'm going hiking, I'm going traveling, this is going with me. That's how I carry some of my smaller lenses. Now some of my bigger lenses, like my, I don't even remember what it's called anymore. Some of my bigger lenses, like my big telephoto kit lens that I got from when I bought the 6000, or my Sigma here, my 18-300. Yeah, it's 18-300. I just had to double check. I haven't seen this in a while. My 18-300, something like that can go into the Matador lens base layer. And so Matador is a little bit of a pricey brand, but I have found that these work very well. They're nice, they have cushion to them, and they're just been a great overall brand for us. We've gotten other different Matador products as well. So we have kind of liked Matador. Definitely same with like Sea to Summit. Now that's for more of a later date on some of the other products we have of both those companies, when we go to do our my packing video once we hit time to go to Florida. Now there are options for like a box that you may want. This is just some cheap box that I got from a thrift store. This has, all the compartments. It makes you feel like a camera backpack or camera bag, but it has, more accessibility than what maybe the camera backpack or camera bag has. Now, on an off switch on this, I do carry a lot of cleaning accessories as well, and I feel like this has something, you know, alternative camera backpack shit. This is probably something that should be mentioned as well. I carry a lot of cleaning stuff. I carry alcohol wipes, the Zeiss wipes that you have seen in the previous video. I have carried, you know, the bulb, the brush, the whole 9 yards. I also take I take a Polaroid, an Instax Polaroid camera with me. So all my Instax is in here. I carry extra batteries. This is a Peak Design tech bag. This is the only Peak Design bag I will ever own because I've tried to get behind their cubes and they're just massive. And I don't have anything to put that cube in when it's that big. So I do love their tech bags, but I don't like their cubes. Now, there are obviously some things that I have never mentioned in this video. I mean, there's the Peak Design cubes. They're more pricey. I know there's camera bags out there and camera backpacks that are a little more accessible. That's why I don't care for camera backpacks per se, because I need something that's a little more accessible in my life, especially while I'm on the trail or out in the field. Sometimes it's a little wet. You don't want your backpack in there, and then you're gonna have to put your backpack back on your back after you just stuck it in the mud. So it's just one of those things that all of this stuff is just stuff that I have found over the years that I have really loved, just for both of my cameras and for also my lenses. I carry quite a bit of different lenses when I do go travel, so I've had to figure out different ways of carrying them. And this is just something that I really wanted to get out because I feel like a lot of people that are like me, that do a lot of trail photography, nature photography, travel photography, we don't talk about our camera gear per se. And sometimes we do carry it a different way than most people. And I want to be one of those people that tell you that it's okay to be out of the norm. Especially if you're a beginner, it's okay to go out of the norm. I feel like a lot of camera experts or professional photographers have said that, you know, you need to do it this way or it's not the right way. And just know that there's so many ways of going about doing photography, and I'm hoping to get more videos out like this where I can share some of the out of the norm, out of the box perspectives that I have done. And to hopefully give some beginners or some intermediate or even some professionals some new insights on maybe how to go about doing photography and go about carrying your gear, what kind of gear you should use, and just having fun with it, really. I mean, I've had a little fun trial and erroring all of this stuff. There's stuff that I don't have anymore that I've had in previous blog posts, which I'll put a link in the description below on some of the blog posts. Definitely give me some comments on maybe some stuff that I left out, or maybe some stuff you want to see a little more of. I'm totally willing to do more videos on that, and I'm totally willing to learn some different techniques and some different camera gear equipment that I might not know about or might want to dive into some more. I mean, the possibilities are endless out there. So until next time, I will be shooting a wedding here soon, and I will be hopefully packing here soon for a trip to Florida again, and that's a little exciting and a little nerve-wracking all in the same, because the last time I went to Florida, it was just not a good experience. So I'm trying to stay positive on that. I'm trying to think about, you know, having a better experience in Florida than I did the last time. So until next time, guys. Before I forget, don't forget to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Hit a like, subscribe, comment down in the below, check out some of the links, check out some of the videos. I mean, come on, I have some really cool hiking videos and some really cool, you know, montages and telling about some of the experiences that I've had throughout this YouTube channel. And we've got some more content coming your way, so definitely check it out. Until next time.